It was good. Like my boss, he's an asshole, but this isn't that bad, you know? And I attribute this, and this is like the final thing I wanted to say with it, and you can finish this up, babe. But like, I really, truly believe that if you want mental strength, if you want internal fortitude, you're going to have to push yourself into places that are radically uncomfortable. If you truly want your bank account to be robust, you are going to have to do work that you're not comfortable doing or used to doing or have done. If you want a ripped and chiseled and sexy as fuck body, a strong body, you are going to have to do more than just getting on the elliptical at the gym for 22 minutes. If you want an epic marriage, you're going to have to push yourself into places and have conversations that are radically fucking uncomfortable.
Amen.
You want to like walk around with a little bit of a swagger and know that you're a lot safer than the average human being. You are going to have to test yourself and train with savages that are trying to fucking hurt you and kill you.
Yep.
Period.
Diamonds are made under pressure.
Are we on? Are we good? We get all this sorted out?
Squeak my pants.
Yeah, trying it. We got the glare done. Can you get your plastic pants to stop?
Are my pants glaring?
Making noise, for the love of God. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Sean and Sax Show. This will be a creative one, a funny one. Probably because we're going to hear Sax in these rubber pants squeaking the whole time, and we'll have glares all over the place. So it's hard. You know, this is a really difficult process to do a podcast. We have glares on all of our bougie signs, and we have to wear the appropriate attire so that we don't, you know, heaven help us.
Hi, babe.
I have a lot of patience. I hope you I really hope at some point in time in life you realize, wow, like I'm a lot, and my husband really does a good job with it.
I agree with you. Yes, you're quite wonderful.
I am. I am. Thank you for that. All right, good to be with everybody today. We're starting the show. Guys, welcome to the podcast. This is how it goes, man. Welcome to the world of being fucking married. Like, you're on it 1 minute, and you're off it 1 minute, and then you're ready to freaking wear rubber pants 1 minute, and then wear jeans 1 minute, and it's just a nonstop experience of grandness and adventure. Indeed it is, dear. Okay, good job.
Indeed it is.
So, guys, welcome. We had a snafu last week with the podcast. Apparently, Saxony said some things that really offended the Securities and Exchange Commission, the FTC, the FCC, the SEC, the whole deal.
Life,
so
right?
We decided not to drop that one so that we didn't end up in prison, which I think is a good thing. And so we're re-recording.
Yes, my apologies.
Thank you, babe. It's fine. So we're going to talk about, again, what we talked about last week.
Yes.
And then we're also going to do another one because we missed a week. And maybe like do a two for today. We can change outfits. Or you should keep the rubber pants, but I'll change my shirt.
Okay, sounds
It'll
great.
be great. So, guys, last week, we wanted to share an experience that we just recently had that was really powerful for us. And it's something that we are very much proponents of. With regards to our family and our training and our lifestyle. Why don't you kick it off for us, babe? You kicked off last week.
Yeah.
Before you pissed everybody off. So why don't you try it again this week?
I love you. So Sean arranged for our family and some friends to have an experience where we spent 2 days. Well, I didn't spend 2 days, but you guys spent 2 days doing close combat tactical training. We worked with blades, we worked with pistols, we worked with basically everything. Fists, yes.
Wrestling, punching, kicking, biting, scratching, knives, guns. It was a glorious time.
And this was, it was a family activity. Yeah. So even our little kids were involved, our little guys. And it was we've done this before, but this one in particular was an incredible experience on a lot of levels. It makes me really proud to see my kids doing this type of stuff because I want them to feel empowered. I don't want them to fear violence. I don't want them to fear anything, truthfully. Sure. So I like to have these type of experiences where they can learn and grow and have skills that as long as we stay on top of them, hopefully they'll have into their adult life, and be prepared if anything were to ever happen.
Yep. So I got a buddy, Raul Martinez is his name. We'll put a link here, Bryce, in the podcast with his Instagram handle. Rogue Methods is how you can find him on Instagram. And I started following him, I don't even remember when, a while ago. And anybody that's been following me knows that like I'm big into training, I'm big into fighting, I'm big into tactical stuff, whether it's guns, knives. I'm just big into hiring people to teach me things, coaches, consultants, savages, whatever it is, to teach me skill sets that I don't have. And so I've been talking to Raul for a while, and we were looking at 2023 because his schedule was really full, and he had one weekend open up. So I literally said, let's do it. Bought him plane tickets, fly him out here, hit up a couple of my friends and said, hey, we're going to do this for 2 days. Do you guys want to come? And he came. And Raul is he trains very high-level people, and I'll let you guys do the research on him and figure out who he is. But he was in the military. He was a police officer, and he trains really high-level people on hand-to-hand combat, knife fighting, gun fighting, and for the simplest way to describe it, violence. He teaches people violence. He teaches people how to defend themselves. He teaches people how to use weapons. He teaches tactics and strategies to stay alive. You know what I mean? The simplest way to describe it is to stay alive. And this is something that I'm a huge proponent of. This is something that is not just a big part of what I do, but something that I want the family to do. And so bringing him in, I wanted to kind of explain two things with this, why we do this, and the two different dynamics to this. But I think it's really important for people to understand, like you guys listening, that no one plans on danger. No one plans on having their house broken into. No one plans on getting robbed at the gas station. Nobody plans on, going to a movie and having some asshole come in and try and shoot it up, right? Nobody plans, babe, those pants. I have to edit that out. Nobody plans for shit to happen. Nobody plans for evil. You know what I mean? Like I don't wake up in the morning and go, man, I hope evil doesn't hit me today. But what I do is I wake up and say, have I trained enough and prepared enough so that if evil does show up on my doorstep, I know how to address it. I know how to defend it. I know how to defeat it. I know how to protect my family.
Correct.
And it's fascinating because the older I get, the more I realize that, I'm not immune to this. Just because I'm Sean Whalen, no one's going to try and rob me, or some whacked out junkie's not going to try and fucking shank me while I'm walking down the street with my family, right? And this sounds like really weird and hostile and dark, but guys, if you're paying attention in life, if you're just living life and you're seeing what evil there is in the world, you should be concerned with this. You should have a plan for this. And one of the things that I really wanted to emphasize to people is understanding that, one of my favorite scriptures and one of my favorite quotes is, if you are prepared, you shall not fear. And this is one deeply rooted at why I want my family to participate in this, and this is why I personally train. It's why I personally carry a firearm on me, why I train with firearms, why I have a concealed carry permit, because I want to know that if evil showed up on my doorstep today, evil showed up with my kids in the car or at a restaurant, that my wife and my family has some sort of leg up.
That's a good way of putting it.
Against the average person, right? And there's a lot of people that, and the reason I say this the way that I do is because I simply take the feedback from the marketplace and the comments that come in, and people that question us, why are you guys doing this? This is dumb. There's no point in this. It's not real life. There's no real bullets. There's no real knives, the whole thing. And I understand that, and I get that. But, I've had enough friends pass away abruptly in life to know that the worst time to get life insurance is after you're dead. And it's that same mentality that I look at, where I don't want to have my daughter training for self-defense and how to gouge a guy's eyeballs out after she's been raped.
Right.
I want to empower her with the tools prior to something happening. And any single person listening to this is alive, in the real world, and could be very, very, very susceptible to any amount, any level of violence, darkness, danger.
I was going to say, it's not even evil. We did a training where we had to put tourniquets on ourselves in a vehicle. So say if you were in a car wreck, how fast can you get a tourniquet on yourself, on your leg? And then also we did the drill, reach through the window. So these are these skill sets of that's not evil, but that's violence. A car wreck is violence, and being prepared, because if something happened and you could save someone's life by putting on a tourniquet until, help arise,
right.
Awesome. Like
right.
That's part of this training.
Right. And it's a great point because I love the conversation around mentality of any facet, whether it's business, relationships, life, and just because you don't think about it doesn't make it not real. Just because you put yourself in a bubble and you pretend that all evil will be good and that nothing will happen to you doesn't make it real. And this is something that I'm very passionate about sharing with people, is understanding that, I don't live in fear. I don't carry a gun because I live in fear. It's actually the exact opposite. I'm not in fear because I have a weapon on me. I'm not in fear because I do train. I'm not in fear when I walk into a restaurant or I'm sitting in a movie theater or I'm walking down the street with my family because I have trained for these things. And so there's two dynamics to why we do this. And this is really what I very much encourage the men to understand what I'm talking about right now. If you're married, if you have a family, if you have children, if you have a wife, listen to what I'm sharing. And then the flip side is, ladies, understand that this is very much applicable, and Sax can share with you her side of it too. But there's a physical and there's a mental aspect of this training. Yep. The physical is really, really, really important. And we've got my good friend and producer, we'll just call it producer, and good friend here in the room with us, Bryce. And I invited Bryce to come. And truthfully, and Bryce will tell anybody this, and he has shared this on social media, Bryce has never trained like this before, and was very abruptly, is a very politically correct word, brought to attention of where his skill set was and where he was lacking. And I say that with a lot of humility because everybody has to start someplace.
Sure.
But the reality is, like, there's a physical dynamic to this which most human beings, most men are not prepared for. You're not prepared to fight. You have not fought. You can think so. You can watch all the UFC fights.
Fight Club. Yeah.
You can watch Fight Club. You can do all this shit. But until you're literally physically in that situation, you have no fucking clue what it's like.
Yep.
And Bryce very quickly saw, and I saw, when you get your heart rate up to 180, 190 beats a minute, when you're literally in a fight or flight, life or death situation, your brain shuts off, you can't think straight, you hold your breath, you're in this literal fight or flight scenario physically, to where I want you to imagine someone literally trying to kill you. They're on top of you with a knife, with a blade, with a gun, trying to fucking kill you for whatever reason. For whatever reason, you could be Peter Priesthood. Look, nobody hates me. No, I love God and the whole thing. But some motherfucker wants the money that you just pulled out of the ATM bad enough to kill you for it.
Yeah. You're
just walking around minding your own business. You pulled $100 out of an ATM, and some dude wants it more than he cares about you living. That's fucking real. And the physical nature of violence is very, very, very dark. It's very scary. It's very intimidating, and it's very humbling. And this is the reason, if you've been following me for any period of time, that you're constantly hearing me talk about getting comfortable in a violent situation, training violently, like training and fighting, literally fighting, going into an MMA gym or a boxing gym and literally fighting another human being, not just sparring or hitting a bag or, hey man, I do, 5 minutes on a heavy bag once a month. It's like, good fucking luck, bro. The question is, have you ever been pinned on the ground and had a dude punching you in the face while wrestling for a gun or trying to stab you in the ribs?
Yeah. Well,
yeah, but that's never going to happen to me, Sean. Like, okay, cool, I understand that. But and let me just finish this thought.
Yeah.
Training physically for situations that you've never been in is wildly important. It is literally the difference between perhaps you living and you dying. Putting my children in these situations where we're fighting for a gun or we're fighting for an object, we're fighting for a rock. I mean, it might just be as simple as somebody trying to bash your head in with a freaking rock, and you're trying to keep this rock from bashing your head, and you're physically fighting. There is a need, in my opinion, now in our culture and our society, for men to become significantly more physical, to significantly put themselves in a very, very dark, dangerous situation, to not only understand it and to feel it mentally and emotionally and psychologically, but physically, to really test your limit. I mean, Bryce will tell you, we were going maybe 50%, 60%, like there was no real violence. We weren't trying to break anybody's ribs. And you get to a place where you're like, holy fuck, like, what am I doing? You can't breathe. You're literally, you lose all cognitive reality of what's going on. And all of a sudden you're like, holy shit, what's happening here? Right. I can't stress this enough.
Yeah.
That if you're not out there physically putting yourself, physically, not reading, not studying, not watching YouTube videos, but physically fighting other men who are of superior caliber, who are of superior stamina, who are of superior skill set, there might be a point in time in your life where you physically don't know what to do. Your body cannot react to an intense situation. And we'll talk more about why the mental game is so important and why it's so important to in every facet of your life, from your marriage to your business, to relate the two. But there's a real possibility, friends, as you're listening to this, like understanding that you simply lack the physical capacity to defend yourself or your family.
One of the things that you mentioned about the fight or flight and your mind going blank that I really appreciate about Rogue Methods is that he teaches you to free your mind. That is a big, big, big part of his training, which I haven't experienced in other trainers. Not to knock them, I just particularly loved that because it was mindset. Yeah. So getting into a space where he will highlight where you're stuck in a pattern, where you're stuck in something that you can see your conditioning, which was great. Like, it was really powerful to see that. So one of the things that happened was we were
this
doing
was really funny, actually.
Yeah. Where this drill where I'm supposed to keep the gun harnessed to my chest, trying to keep him from getting the gun from me. Right. Okay. And
you're
we're
basically
on the mats.
laying face down and he's on top of you and you have the gun underneath you, just to kind of put perspective. So the gun's on the ground, Sax is holding it, laying like stomach down. He's on top of you, trying to wrestle you, punch you, hit you, flip you over, get the gun from you. So her job is to basically keep control of the gun.
Right. I do not want to lose the gun. And in the meantime, I'm trying to kill this guy who's on top of me.
Get away from
gun.
Him. Yeah.
Right. So what had happened is we went a couple rounds on this, but I think it was the first round. I was on my back and I am literally holding the gun like this.
He turned her over.
Let me tell the story. So I'm on my back. He's right here on my left, and he is just holding on to my left arm.
Your wrist.
Yeah. And it's funny because I was fighting and he's pulling on my arm and then he goes, stop. He goes, let go of the gun.
He's telling you, let go of the gun over and over and over.
Yes,
and you wouldn't.
That's the story I'm telling. Yes. He's like, let go of the gun. Let go of the gun. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And it wasn't until he said it a couple times, I'm like, oh my gosh. I was literally my own resistance in that fight. And he framed that on purpose because he was wanted to show
he literally wasn't even touching the gun.
He was holding onto my arm. I'm holding onto the gun.
And she was so focused on squeezing onto the gun that he's like, let go of the gun. And you're like, you couldn't. You wouldn't. You're like, I can't.
I was so determined to not lose that gun.
And he didn't even have a hand on the gun. Yeah, it was really fascinating.
It was awesome because I remember thinking holy cow, wow. Yeah. That didn't connect to me. And then once he did that, when we went on the other rounds, I was way more conscious of that. And it's like that, free your mind. And then he did one with me where he goes, feel the energy of me. Instead of worrying about strategic moves or aggression, he's like, just feel my movements. And it was such a different experience. And it reminded me of Neo in the Matrix, because that's what, it popped in my brain with it. So when you slow down, all of a sudden you're in more control because you're controlling your mind and the reality of what is I'm my own enemy here. All I had to do is let go of the harness and my right hand's free and he's here. Yeah. Now he did that on purpose, but it was a really powerful experience. And I loved that. We had those moments happen throughout all of the trainings. Yeah. And it was incredible because it shows so much where the control of our minds or the lack of control of our minds can really make a huge difference in survival in those moments. Yeah.
Well, that's kind of the second part that I wanted to talk about, because you can't have, in my opinion, you can't have one without the other. But when you get yourself into the scenario, you excel both, right? Because literally it was fascinating watching that, because I was sitting right there. And I watched him have both of his hands on Sax's wrist. And Sax's goal was it's called harnessing the gun, where you have your hand on the pistol, but then you use your other hand to hold kind of the barrel and the slide area of the gun. And it's harnessing it so that it can't be grabbed by somebody else. And he's like, let go of the gun, let go of the gun. And you're like, I can't. And literally he wasn't even touching it. And it's that mental fight or flight where you're going, I don't understand this, I can't. And that's what's so massive about the mental aspect of this, right? Is knowing that when you go into a situation that's traumatic, right? We literally, while we were training, I don't think were you there for the car accident? Mm-mm. Bryce was there for the car accident. While we're training, we're literally training out front of our warehouse in the grass, and we all heard just bam, and it sounded exactly like a car accident. And my first thought process is I'm looking around, I'm scanning the area to see what happened, and sure enough, I saw an accident. So I go running over, and this lady had rear-ended, the lady with the baby had rear-ended this older couple in the car, and literally right in front of us. Mm-hmm. We didn't see it, we heard it, and then bang, I saw it, went over there. And as I was running over there, her airbag's deployed, and she's got blood coming out of her mouth, and she's in the back seat trying to get her baby out and the whole thing. And she's literally right next to the median of traffic. So there's 3 lanes of traffic coming the opposite direction of where she was, and she was completely oblivious to it. And as I was running over there, like I was kind of stopping cars as I was coming across the street, she literally turned and like started walking into traffic. And I share that because this is human nature. Is you like, and you're in a fight or flight place, you're literally not even, he doesn't even have his hand on the gun, and you're like, I don't know how to move the gun.
Your brain is literally just in survival.
Just goes into this mode. And I'm watching this lady as I run over, and I like grabbed her. Bryce will tell you, like, I kind of grabbed her arm. I said, hey, you're okay? Stop for a second. And we're just on a 2-foot median, and there's cars coming down one way and there's cars going the other way, and she's holding her baby, literally trying to walk out in front of fucking traffic because her brain was in such a place of panic and fear, and her airbag just deployed, and there's shit all over her car, and her baby screaming. That like she had no reality that she was literally walking into traffic and would have gotten hit by a car. That's the same reality as somebody comes up and punches you. That's the same reality as like you're just at the ATM or you're pumping gas. I mean, how many videos have we seen online, friends, of just some random asshole walking up trying to rob an old lady or rob a couple or carjack someone, right? Your brain literally goes into a place of chaos. Yep. I mean, I don't know if it shuts off or it goes into hyper mode, or you can call it fight or flight. I'm sure there's plenty of medical people out there that would tell me exactly what happens to your brain and the whole thing. But the reality is, like,
it is a physiological
and this is why the second part of this training is so fucking important. Yeah. Because when you go, like, as that experience happened with you, and you were like, oh shit, I didn't realize he wasn't even holding the gun. You now become hyper aware. Yeah. You're now looking at things, and you're able to, just like the Matrix, slow things down, right? We call it situational awareness. So it's like when chaos happens, when you hear a gunshot someplace, or there's an explosion, or there's a car accident, people literally will make completely irrational decisions.
Talk about the avalanche story.
Yeah, I will in a second. People make completely irrational decisions because they go into fight or flight. And the human being, our human conditioning is to run away from fear, to run away from danger. It's how we're conditioned, just as a species, not because you're rich or you're poor, or you're gay, you're straight, or you're black, or you're white, or you're strong or you're weak. Our DNA is to get away from pain, get away from fear, run away from danger. That's what we're conditioned to do. And what's fascinating to me is the more I train in these situations, the more I box, the more I fight, the more comfortable I get in those scenarios. And it's like when you get twisted up on the ground, you know, one of the literal exercises that we're doing is you're trying to get up, you're trying to get the gun out. And when you talk about what Raul teaches, which I really love, is he's like, look, so long as you're on the ground and you're in control of the gun, like, you don't need to go into panic mode. The goal isn't like a timed UFC fight where you have to get up off the ground and to score points. He's like, the mission is to control the weapon. And so he's like, you don't need to be in a place of panic. He's like, if nothing's happening and no one's punching you or elbowing you or kicking you, don't freak the fuck out. Just sit there. And your mindset, though, is so different, where you're like, get up, you got to shoot the guy. Fuck, I got to get the gun out, and he's trying to get the gun, and I got a thing, and I got to go, and I got to move, and I got to roll, and a thing, and your brain goes into this place of chaos, just like you get into a car accident, you open your door, and you're literally in the middle of fucking traffic, and you're walking into head-on traffic. The lady literally, in the accident, didn't even know that she was bleeding. I was like, ma'am, you need to come over. I walked her across the street and handed her off to Bryce and said, Bryce, she's in shock. Because she kept trying to walk away. She kept trying to walk into traffic and go back to her car and shit like that. And Bryce was like, no, stay here. And, you know, we could hear the fire trucks and the ambulances coming. But she was literally in shock. Stop for 2 seconds, friends, and think, what would you do if somebody walks up to you at a gas station while you're pumping your gas, you're minding your own fucking business, and somebody tries to rob you? Somebody tries to jump in your car while your kid's in the car and take your car. Mm-hmm. You're at an ATM and you're just standing there minding your own business, trying to get some cash out to go to the game, and you got your kids and your family there, and some dude walks up and like punches you in the back of the head and tries stealing your money. Like, your mind will go into places that it's never been before. Mm-hmm. And so one of the beautiful things, and I say beautiful because it is truly beautiful, one of the beautiful things about this training and about training period is that when you can see yourself and experience yourself slowing things down and making rational decisions. Mm-hmm. Now, we can say that we'll always be ready for any scenario out there. Not going to happen, right? But I truly believe, just like you go to a gym and you lift weights, the more you lift the weights, the stronger you get. The more you put yourself in violent situations, chaotic situations, dangerous situations where your heart rate goes up, where your brain like wants to leave the building, the more you do that, the more you can find yourself in a calm place.
It's not as foreign.
Exactly.
It's not as foreign.
Exactly. And this is the real interesting dichotomy of this conversation, is so many people think that 911 is going to be their solution, that someone's going to come save you, that someone will be there. You know, we talked about times and how quick do cops get to your house? Like, where's the closest police station? He was literally asking that.
That was a really great point that he made.
Think that through for 2 seconds, friends. I mean, how far or where's the closest police station to you? Literally go there, set your clock, time how long it would take a police car under normal circumstances to drive from the police station to your house. Now our mind is like, well, there's always somebody out patrolling. I'm going to call 911 and 32 seconds later it's going to be there. It may be, but what if they're not? What if literally somebody kicks your fucking door in the middle of the night while your family's there and they're trying to fucking kill you and your family? You happen to call 911 and it literally takes 11 minutes to get from the police station to your house. Yeah. You have 11 fucking minutes. 11 minutes is an eternity.
It's a very long time.
Is an eternity when you're in distress, when you're in that chaos land. And so the mental game here, you know, not only from a survival standpoint is invaluable, but I have also noticed, and you and I have talked about this, especially with our kids, like I've noticed personally, like the ability that I have to be a leader in my company where something happens, this isn't right, that isn't right, something catastrophic happens, or the system goes down, or this doesn't happen, or whatever, I'm significantly more calm. I'm significantly more in a place of real data analysis where I can make prudent decisions versus irrational decisions. Yes. Now, I'm still working on this in my marriage because my wife wears rubber pants and pisses me off, and I go into fucking
I think emotional chaos is a whole nother arena.
I'm trying to train more and more and more to deal with your ass, like from the mental stance, but that's a different conversation for a different day. But the truth of the matter is I have found, and I think you would say the same thing, you know, there's a level of confidence when you're training and you go into this place of danger and you go into this place of survival, you go into this place of chaos, where not only when you come out of it, you kind of have a little bit more swagger, you have a little bit more mojo. You're kind of like, okay, I survived that.
This is where, speaking about women and children, because men, I feel like you guys kind of give yourself the swagger and ego easily because you just...
I'm not talking bravado. I'm not talking fake shit. I'm talking real shit.
But women, like, to go into a physical place, like a lot of women don't even like to lift weights because it's so intimidating. Right. But to be actually physical and get scrappy and punch and express that violence, or to know that strength, it's to me, it's like every woman should know that they're capable, and you're only going to know you're capable by practice and by doing it. Therefore, you walk out into the world with a different level of confidence because you have some experience in your toolbox. And this is like, I loved seeing the kids. You know, it's like I want them to know that they have skills. Like they know they could do certain things. They're obviously littler people. We have physical disadvantages when it comes to strength, right? However, if we can have enough skills to get away, to survive, to injure enough to like deter something further, awesome. Yeah. Like that's the idea. And that confidence it's not only important, it's like, it's intoxicating. And I want all women, I pray all women will put themselves in this position to do this type of training for their minds, for their bodies, for their children.
Right. The mental game, to me, the physical is really the quickest, simplest way to get to where am I, right? Like the physical, you put yourself up against another human being in a fight or flight scenario, you're going to find out where you are really fast, right? Now, we're training with high-level people for a reason, because it's like I want to know that the guy that I'm wrestling, fighting, punching, kicking, trying to get a gun from, he's trying to get a gun from me, is going to be significantly more advanced and more versed than the typical shitface on the street who wants to take my lunch money, right? But when you think about the mental game, there is a level, the people, it's kind of the running conversation here, especially in our culture now, the people that want violence the least are the people that have experienced violence the most.
Yep.
And so these soldiers who've come back for war, they're like, yo, I'm not trying to freaking throw down, man. Like, you don't typically see, there's far more bar fights happening with dipshits that have never done anything than there are with UFC fighters. You just happen to see the UFC fighters, like, because they get glamorized and publicized, but there's probably 10 million to 1 bar fights of dudes that have never really, like, gotten into violence because they don't get it. They don't understand it. It ends up being a bunch of wild-ass haymakers that never really land, and then somebody breaks it up. But the people that have experienced it the most are the ones that want the violence the least. And so I emphasize and I stress that with not only the guys that I train and coach, to understand that, like, you'll find yourself far more at peace. It's the old saying. It's the warrior in the garden versus the gardener in the war. I want to be a warrior who is trained violently, who is comfortable there, but I live in peace far more than the dude who has never gotten his knuckles bloody, who when the war comes, he has no clue what to do.
Yep.
That's the guy that I want to be. That's the place that I want to be. Bryce, that's a good little freaking quote right there. Chop that one up. That's a good little bit, right? But one of the things that you mentioned, and this was literally, it went viral not too long ago, and I was fascinated by this video. There's a video of a family. There was a mother and a father and a son and a daughter. And the kids were both probably around 10-ish, I would say, plus minus a year or two. And they're sitting in this ski resort on the balcony, eating lunch, and there's this massive mountain behind them. And it looked like it was someplace in the Alps or whatever, huge mountains, and they just didn't look, it wasn't like here in Utah.
Gotcha.
I don't know where the hell it was. Let's just leave it at that. But this avalanche starts, and you can see the avalanche coming down this mountain. Now, these people are at a ski resort, right? You typically don't put ski resorts right in the middle of an avalanche zone and yada, 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 and the whole thing. Long story short, this avalanche is coming down. It's getting bigger and bigger, and the whole family's sitting there watching it. And they're in awe of this thing, and it's coming down, and you see all these people in the background, like, watching this avalanche coming down the mountain, right? And it's getting closer, and it's getting closer, and it's getting closer, and you hear this, the son. The son starts going, "Daddy, Daddy," and he's like leaning into his kid, and you can see everybody kind of go into that panic mode. Like the wife like puts her hands on the table and is looking at the husband and then looking around, and you can see, like, you can just feel in the video, like the energy and is intensifying and getting scarier and scarier and scarier, to the point where the avalanche starts coming like right towards where they're sitting, and you see them all like kind of sit up halfway, and then they're like standing up, and the father literally, as this avalanche starts coming right onto the deck, literally turns and he runs. He runs. The dude just fucking bounces. His wife's at the table and his kids are at the table, and he literally runs. You think that through for 2 seconds, like, we could talk all kinds of crap, and everybody can put on the false bravado, and every badass listening to this can be like, I wouldn't do that. I'd have picked them all up and put them in my backpack, and we'd have fucking just walked out of there, right? But the truth of the matter is that's what most men would do. Like most men, most human beings run from fear. We run from danger. We run when we hear something. We run when something happens. We don't run to the scenario. We don't protect the scenario. We don't have situational awareness enough to go, oh shit, this avalanche is about to fucking take over this deck. Me and my wife and my kids are here. That motherfucker had literally just gotten into a place of such fear that he ran and was completely oblivious to his family sitting at the table. Mm-hmm. And the truth is, like, most people would probably do the same thing. Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of videos on the internet of this.
And that's the reason I would say most, is because there's enough data out there, and by data I mean videos, to support most people running away from danger. I mean, how many times do you see a gunshot, or you hear an explosion or something like that, and everybody runs? everybody runs. Now, I'm not saying that everybody should be running in. I'm not saying that everybody on 9/11 that was running away from the tower should be running into the towers. But it's a fascinating reality watching the human being run away from danger, run away from violence, and literally losing all cognitive capabilities of what's happening right in front of them.
Yep.
So much so that a man would literally run away from an avalanche and leave his family there to be swallowed up by the avalanche. Now the video cuts off and we don't know what happens to the family. But it's a really, really, really interesting thing, and it's something that I am very passionate about with my family and with myself, is putting myself in very, very uncomfortable scenarios and situations on purpose to not only condition myself, to callous myself there, but to learn. What do I feel like here? What do I feel like in these scenarios? What do I do when my heart rate gets freaking going? What do I do in that scenario? And who do I become? You know, who do I have to become to be more calm? Who do I have to become to find myself more in the matrix where I can slow things down, do things, you know, with more relative ease, if you will. I just thought of Bryce's wife. So this is like a funny story where she came in and she had no idea what was going on with the training. And all of a sudden, she and I were battling. Right. And she literally had just shown up. Set the stage. She had no clue. Bryce had been training for 2 days. This is day 2. Bryce was there. I don't know. Did you invite her over?
Yeah, I knew the Sax was there. So
yeah.
I asked her if she wanted to come hang out and see what this was about.
Right.
Yeah.
That was the words I used. See what this is about.
Yeah.
Right. So this is a really cool. I want to. Yeah.
She thought she was coming for a Mary Kay thing, an MLM deal, buy some oils and some lotions. Yeah. Why are these guys punching each other in the face? Anyways.
So we got paired up. We just did we were basically just punching each other and trying to not push each other around.
No big deal. I mean, yeah.
And we went 2 or 3 rounds on this. And I think it really, I know it really kind of shocked her of like, holy shit, you know? And she ended up leaving. But what was really cool is I saw her a couple days later and she was so amped.
Yeah.
Like the moral of the story is that it was so rad to see how amped she was to come back and like, holy shit, like, I want in now. Yeah. Like, cause that sucked. That was stupid. I did not know what was going on. But now that it's like cool. Like you see, once you've tasted it, it's like, oh, now I can get better at this. Right. Now I can refine this. Now I've experienced something that, whoa. And she was super, super, super enthusiastic and amped to like have to be a worthy opponent and to rematch. And that, I mean, I was stoked for that because I felt bad.
We felt bad because Amy literally left. She went like 2 or 3 rounds of Sax and didn't say, okay, guys, bye, thanks, I got to go get brunch. But
in very Whalen style, we were thrilled that like something that hard truths teach you things. And it's like, okay, like I also learned that, you know,
tell our friends what they're getting into before they get into it.
But it was cool because like I was really grateful to see that reaction. Yeah. Because that's something Raul talks about is like, you want it, especially when you're training kids, like you want to make it something that's not like, he doesn't teach out of fear. He teaches out of play almost. Right. So the engagement of actual learning is a fun experience, even though you're in the middle of chaos and violence. And so that was just a really cool thing for me to experience with her, you know?
The moral of the story is which we're probably not going to have very many friends, which we don't have very many friends anyways after this, but if you ever come to our house or we invite you over, there's a high probability we're not trying to sell you an MLM or get you to buy some shit.
I won't get scrappy with
My wife wants to punch your wife in the face, and I'm probably going to try and take you down and stick a gun in your face.
No.
Maybe we'll do dinner and have some cocktails, smoke a cigar, try and slip a fucking punch in the face, you know? We're really not that crazy, but maybe we are that crazy. Amy, we love you. Amy.
Yeah. No, I was very proud of her. We're going to blame it on your husband
for not telling you what the hell was actually going on. But no, it's true. It's not pleasant. It's not a pleasant to be. I mean, my fingers are still all cut up. Your fingers are still all cut up. Like, you know, it's not pleasant.
Yeah.
It's really not. It's not a joyous martinis and flowered freaking drinks on the beach weekend. It's a fucking violent weekend, and it sucks. And you're literally getting punched in the face, and you're on the ground, literally on the grass, on the gravel, cutting your hands up and getting your face ground, literally your face ground into the grass, into the dirt, fighting for your fucking life. You're fighting for a weapon. You know what I mean? It's not pleasant. But, you know, getting robbed isn't pleasant either.
Yeah.
Getting freaking violated isn't pleasant. Having your home broken into isn't pleasant. Like, there's a lot of dark shit out there. There's a lot of nastiness out there. And I would suspect that most people would probably live a far more peaceful life if they were more comfortable in violence.
Yep.
People would probably have a lot less arguments in their marriage and a lot less bullshit at work if they knew that they just spent 2 days with the most savage people you could in a very violent, dangerous situation to where you're kind of looking at the argument with your wife and like, man, babe, I mean, really, like, come on. You know, there's bigger fish to fry here. And all the shit at work that you're dealing with, you're like, nah, this is nothing. You know what I mean? Let me tell you why it's nothing, because Raul was trying to fucking smash my face into the dirt and I got away. It was good. Like, my boss, he's an asshole, but this isn't that bad, you know? And I attribute this, and this is like the final thing I wanted to say with it, and you can finish this up, babe, but like, I really, truly believe that if you want mental strength, if you want internal fortitude, you're going to have to push yourself into places that are radically uncomfortable. If you truly want your bank account to be robust, you are going to have to do work that you're not comfortable doing or used to doing or have done. If you want a ripped and chiseled and sexy as fuck body, a strong body, you are going to have to do more than just getting on the elliptical at the gym for 22 minutes. If you want an epic marriage, you're going to have to push yourself into places and have conversations that are radically fucking uncomfortable.
Amen.
You want to like walk around with a little bit of a swagger and know that you're a lot safer than the average human being. You are going to have to test yourself and train with savages that are trying to fucking hurt you and kill you.
Yep.
Period.
Diamonds are made under pressure.
Yeah. Bryce, that was a good one too. You know, I got all kinds of freaking IG clips coming up out of this one. You know what I'm saying? Well, you always get all the good ones. Like, you always say all the really profound shit. I'm just here like a bobblehead.
Just to look good.
Yeah. In my Crocs. Well, you got your leather pants. This is an anomaly if I've ever seen it. Camo Crocs and fucking rubber pants.
We didn't. Well,
you know? It's great.
Yeah.
Guys, we will. Yeah. I strongly suggest, feel free to reach out to Rogue Methods, to our friend Raul. In fact, we'll put a couple other links to a couple other people that we've trained with and that we would suggest you training with. But for those of you asking, you know, what do I do? How do I do this? I don't care where you live. There are veterans that have been to war that know what war is. There are MMA gyms. There are boxing gyms. There are jiu-jitsu gyms in every freaking city in America. And I don't care if you live in Timbuktu, Kalamazoo, or freaking LA. Like, there are places and people for you to train. And the very best way to do it is to just literally ask your friends, jump online, get on the gram, see who's training, tactical training, you know, jiu-jitsu, fighting, Muay Thai, gun training, knife fighting. There are an ample supply of people out there. And, you know, we paid a lot of money for Raul to come. Like understand, like this was a very sizable financial investment to be able to have someone of his skill set come. I'm not saying that everybody has to drop a freaking huge nickel on their training, but I will say that, you know, you value what you invest in and you invest in what you value. And I value myself, I value my family, and so I'm willing to do that. But if that's a place that's uncomfortable for you to start, literally go down to a boxing gym, start boxing. If you've never thrown a punch at another human being or had another human being throw a punch at you, that's a great fucking place to start. Go to a gym, go to some open sparring, go to some open mat stuff, and literally put some headgear on and a mouthpiece in and start punching people in the face.
Yeah.
Have somebody punch you in the face. Like, it's a great place to fucking start. And anybody can do that. Anybody can do that. So.
Yeah, and there are a lot of SF guys
Yeah.
that are, like what Raul shared with us is, he's like, I have been trained, like extensive training paid for by the U.S. government. And he has this like gratitude. He's like, I have been given all of this knowledge and training and expertise, and they're gifts to me. And he's like, now I get to give them back to civilians. Like, I get to serve back in a different way. And and you can you can tell he very much means this. And I love that. And that's not an anomaly. Like, we have
Tim Kennedy, you know, a lot of the other guys that we train with Operation Black Site, which our dear friend Dan Fleischman runs. And there's a number of people out there that are very good at what they do, that are skilled at what they do, and that will teach you. I mean, we spent, you know, a day with Tim Kennedy. with Matt and his whole crew. There's a lot of really good people out there. And if you are someone who has never gone down that path, do it. Mm-hmm. Don't just do it because you're worried about having your house broken into. Do it because you want to become mentally stronger. Mm-hmm. Do it because you want to become uncomfortable and become comfortable in uncomfortable situations. Yes. We talk a lot about the violence and protecting yourself and protecting your house, but the simple fact is you just getting fucking stronger mentally. It only comes by doing things that you're uncomfortable doing.
Yep.
And we live in a culture and a society that is very pleasantly comfortable with where they are and what they are and who they are. And that's the reason that a lot of people don't grow. Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't grow because they're not willing to get uncomfortable. And where the real lessons happen, where the real growth happens, where the big money comes from, where the sexy body comes from, where the deep-rooted marriage comes from, is in really, really, really hard, difficult, deep work.
Yep. And ladies, you can be very, very, very much a feminine woman and be
savage,
strong, and as savage as fuck.
Sexy.
Hopefully, the world never has to see that side of you. Awesome.
I love seeing it. We practice it on the regular. I try and choke her out. No. Well, just kidding. Babe, does this turn you on? You're like, I can't fucking breathe. I'm like, well, then fight out of it. Get out of it. Just kidding. Sort of. We're good sparring partners. We're great sparring partners.
Yeah. Yep. We're just great.
All right, guys. We love you. Get out there, kick some ass. Get your ass kicked. Level up the game. We love you.
We love you.
See you next week. Bye.
Bye.